Hello! It is time for my Halo Wars 2 review. I'm doing this outside of my regular video stuff because the embargo's lifted and I need to get it out and it's not exactly the most convenient date. Halo Wars 2 is definitely a real-time strategy game for Halo fans, not a Halo game for RTS fans. The beats and rhythms of the game, including lengthy cutscenes, sudden dramatic twists, and big production values, speak more to the shooter titles we all know and love than your traditional RTS experience. If you're a hardcore RTS gamer, Halo Wars 2 is not made for you. The name of the game here is accessibility, and Halo Universe brand extension. I found that a knowledge of strategy games somewhat hindered me because play with a gamepad takes some adjustment, and I was well into Act 2 before I felt like I was really doing much compared to what I'm used to. So, if your Windows 10 machine meets the minimum specs, play this game on PC, not your Xbox One. This will be an ongoing theme in this review-ish look at this game. The campaign is essentially an extended tutorial with a basic story and likable characters. Each level introduces a new unit and/or feature. There's a good mix of scenarios, including a tower defense-inspired level, and instead of ramping up the overall difficulty, each map provides a different type of challenge, until the difficulty spikes near the end when the game assumes you essentially know what you're doing. Levels are intended to be played multiple times, so the level up system to reward multiple plays. Playing on higher difficulties creates a score multiplier that you'll need to use to hit the highest score tiers with relative ease. A lot of Halo franchise elements return here, including skulls, blitz cards, and ongoing season pass style content that promises to be fairly robust. Of course, it wouldn't be a Halo game without shiny graphics and astoundingly good audio. The music, voice acting, and sound effects are all top notch. The game takes place 28 years after the first game, placing it after the events of the Halo shooters. The time jump and addition of new villain Atriox are both improvements in my opinion, and yes, since this is me and I know you're asking, the female characters are really good. There's action, there's sacrifice, there's comedy, and the female characters are meaningfully involved in all of it. Halo Wars 2 is a good example of a game that's inclusive without beating you in the face with what a good thing that is. The character with the most range is Isabel, the new AI character. She doesn't have a huge amount to do, but she's a pretty interesting character, especially for a Halo game. She's haggard looking in an interesting way that makes sense, and she comes into her own throughout the campaign. Anders, the female scientist, gets some good lines in too, but there's meaningful female involvement in unit voiceovers as well. I cannot say enough how good the voice work is in Halo Wars 2. It's not just aesthetically pleasing, it's useful. For instance, the units report their status as soon as you select them. Lower health results in a different bit of dialogue than when the unit is in the green. It's really helpful because you really don't have much time to plan your moves once a mission really gets going. Like most RTS games, early choices matter a great deal, and there's a unique twist to Halo Wars 2 in that airdrops for enemies are common, so you have to cover points of interest from unpredictable attacks. I wish there was a way to fortify units without garrisons to prevent accidentally moving them by double tapping the right bumper, and this is where my complaints about playing an RTS on a gamepad come back into things. The tactics in Halo Wars 2 rely on building a diverse group of units so it doesn't get mowed down in combat against mixed groups of enemies. Halo Wars 2 works on a rock, paper, scissors combat system involving infantry, armored, and air units, and that's pretty simple in theory. Where it gets tricky is when experienced RTS players try to adapt to playing on a gamepad. The tutorial could have been much better in that regard, especially where the D-pad and right trigger controls are concerned. There's a steep and lengthy learning curve for all the different features that in my case was compounded by the short embargo deadline. I wish I'd had an extra week because I felt much more confident playing the campaign the second time through. That being said, it seems like the game tries to compensate for that by emphasizing the importance of building the right units more than putting them in the right places, though there are 2 or 3 parts of the campaign that are notable exceptions to that, and they drove me crazy on gamepad. Sense a theme? Yes. I forced myself to get through the campaign on normal difficulty on gamepad to see if it was doable, and yes, it is. It's just incredibly frustrating if you've got any experience with keyboard and mouse RTS games. On the bright side, once you get used to the controls, if you can get used to the controls, there's a good amount of additional stuff to do. I wish I could have tried the co-op multiplayer and the daily challenges, but the challenges weren't enabled during my review period, and multiplayer in review games, very rare. Blitz mode with the card collection is an interesting idea, but not really my thing. I like playing RTS games in open maps against the computer, and while it would have been great to be able to do it on my couch, gamepad just still doesn't feel natural for me. The best thing Halo Wars 2 could do for its console version would be to allow players to use a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse with the Xbox One, because that's the only real complaint I have with an otherwise beautiful newbie RTS experience, and I keep bringing it up. So it's a significant problem. Then again, if I'd never played an RTS before, I probably wouldn't know the difference. Is it becoming clear that if you have the option, the best thing to do is play Halo Wars 2 on the Windows 10 PC version? Good, because it's so much easier to control your units. Everyone, however, will notice the bugs. The game crashed, froze, and otherwise glitched on me more than once on the console version. This may be an issue with the console itself, because it's happened to me in other Xbox One games. A particularly hilarious bug was the one you're watching now, which I actually replicated twice. Even though I screwed up and lost all my units, the mission didn't fail. Instead, the game made me sit there not having any control except the camera for over 5 minutes until, ta-da! It acted like I successfully completed the mission. There's also something strange going on with the secondary objective notifications. I got messages that I'd failed numerous objectives right at the beginning of a map before I'd done anything. So, Halo Wars 2 is a decided improvement from the first game, both in depth and breadth, but you need a keyboard and mouse to really feel in control. Of course, that's not the purpose of designing an RTS game primarily for console. Interesting design choices in the Xbox One, like bloated, overly complex software architecture, a unit that's closed off to Bluetooth keyboard and mouse. These things don't serve a game that's inherently well designed. And yes, we keep hearing keyboard and mouse functionality is coming in the future to the Xbox One, but that doesn't help us now. Why did they release a game without the features on the console that allow us to maximize our enjoyment of the game? Oh, Microsoft. So, when they fix the bugs, and if you have a keyboard and mouse, so right now if you have a Windows 10 PC, then Halo Wars 2 is a feast for the senses and a lot of fun explosions. But console RTS games still need a keyboard and mouse. Get me? Keyboard and mouse. God, playing on a gamepad was frustrating.